Hello, I'm Agent Ghost and welcome to the archives. And before we get into it, I just want to thank everyone for watching, liking, and commenting on my last and the very first vendor weekly reset video I did last week. Just very much appreciated for all the support, and thank you so much. Now, without further ado, let's get on to this weekly vendor reset video. Starting things off, we're going to the White House vendor right over here to my right. What's up? Alright, now what they have is the Burnout assault rifle. It isn't bad. It always comes with the talent perfectly on empty. Basically turns it into a beam. If you like that type of playstyle, highly recommend damage targets out of cover and the regular attribute. Roll that over the headshot damage, and then boom, you got a perfectly rolled Burnout. So if you're interested, pick that up. MP59 SMG. Not a bad SMG just in general, the way it handles and whatnot. It has stability in the regular attribute. I would re-roll that damage targets out of cover. It has the talent, though, Future Perfect, so you could use this in a skill build. But other than that, I wouldn't recommend using it. You could experiment and see if it's a decent one. I would personally want to use an assault rifle with that, but again, you can pick it up and experiment for a skill build if you want. Damage targets out of cover in the regular attribute. Now for the MK16, we have headshot damage in the regular attribute and the talent, again, Future Perfect. Like I just said, I'd prefer an assault rifle. So if you're experimenting with like a skill build, there could be better talents out there again for skill builds, but if you want to experiment and have fun like I do, doesn't hurt to pick it up and reroll damage targets out of cover. And I'd actually recommend, if you're gonna do that, pick up the SMG as well, and then boom, damage target out of cover for both of them, and you have a primary and secondary to experiment with. Now the M1911, it's not my favorite pistol, but I think in general it is a pretty good general use pistol. If you don't have one you like, I would recommend trying out. Now in the regular attribute we have magazine size. I would do damage targets out of cover, and then ooh, the talent Killer. All right, this is an amazing talent to put on many different weapons. I would recommend if you don't have a pistol you like or care to use, try out the M1911 in general, put damage targets out of cover in the regular magazine, and with Killer, boom, more damage. And I'm not going to go over every talent, so if you're interested at all, I'll try and hover over on it for a second, and you can pause and read it out if you want. But yeah, that would be good. Now, Golden Gear Backpack, you have explosive resistance and armor regen. Not bad. And then Shock and Awe. So with this backpack and roll, I would re-roll the explosive resistance for crit hit chance, crit hit damage, or hazard protection, and then actually this would be perfect for status effects. My mistake, not crit hit chance or crit damage. I would re-roll the explosive resistance for status effects, and then you could use this as a tank status effects hybrid build. Could be a lot of fun. Now moving on to the Group Sombra brand set, one of the best brand set pieces in the entire game. So we have armor regen and health. Not a good sign because of just this is great for crit hit chance and crit hit damage, but it has the talent Intimidate. So I would recommend picking this up as a placeholder and then farm Countdown if you like the playstyle. Intimidate's great. If you have any backpack, Bellstone Armory, or there are other backpacks like Seska to have Adrenaline Rush or Bloodsucker, which pairs perfectly with Intimidate. And then I would re-roll the health for crit hit chance or crit hit damage, whatever you need. And then the armor regen, it would be perfect if you farm Countdown for crit hit chance, crit hit damage in those slots, but I would keep the armor regen. But yeah, not bad if you want to try that out. Now moving on to the mods, we went over the weapons at the White House vendor and that gear. Now we're on the mods. 10.2% crit hit damage mod, 8% scan range for your drone, 1 extra sniper ammo for your sentry turret, and 4.2% skill haste for your sticky launcher. Any must-haves or recommendations? I guess the M1911 if I had to, because it seems like a decent pistol, but other than that, really, unless you saw something you liked or need, not really. Now moving on, we're going to go to the Countdown vendor right over here.
Hey, badass.
Thank you. Thank you kindly, random NPC. Now, at the Countdown vendor, we have the Lightning Rod. Now, this isn't... I'm not a big fan of the Lightning Rod, but because it has the talent Perfect Salvage, but if you're at all interested in having to not reload your magazine that often, just reroll damage targets out of cover. For the Zero F's Name Badger Tuft chest piece. So it comes with it. This one has armor regen, skill damage. This wouldn't be bad for like a shotgun or Tank build, just reroll the skill damage for crit hit chance, crit hit damage, or hazard protection. And then you could do a tank shotgun damage or just tank build with the talent Perfectly Unbreakable. Everlasting Gaze, it has perfect perputation, and this wouldn't be bad with damage targets out of cover re-rolled over the crit hit chance and the regular attribute for a status effects rifle sniping hybrid. That's what I've experimented with this. It's not my favorite, but you could pick this up if you're all interested at the Countdown vendor. That's it. Any must-haves and recommendations? Not really, again, unless you see something you like. But now we're going to the clan vendor all the way over here. I really wish at this point it wouldn't stop you from sprinting. You could just sprint full throttle though, but whatever, we're already here, so why am I even complaining? All right, now at the clan vendor we have the Chain Killer chest piece. This is actually, so let's check out the stats. So 7% weapon damage, that's not good. Crit hit chance, and the regular attribute was weapon handling. So this actually wouldn't be bad as a placeholder for any one-shot rifle, sniper, or even pistol build. Any one-shot build in general, this is the chest piece you mainly want to use. What I would recommend doing is picking up possibly 2, and you could re-roll the weapon damage to be maxed, and then you have a really strong placeholder Chain Killer chest piece for one-shot build. What you want is to have headshot in the regular attribute, headshot damage. So like you could pick up another and then re-roll the crit hit chance with headshot, because weapon handling is really good for one-shot builds, or crit hit chance. Those are the other 2 secondary attributes. So like for example, real quick, I have one right here I just used in my most recent build, my rifle one-shot build. And again, I have headshot damage and weapon handling in the regular attributes, or you could re-roll the weapon handling there for crit hit chance. Unfortunately, the one here has weapon handling and crit hit chance. But again, you could pick up 2 and slowly, upgrade that weapon damage and max it out to have a perfect roll, or you could just get this and max out the weapon damage, and it would be a very strong placeholder for any one-shot build. Moving on to the Heartbreaker gear set. All right, this actually would not be, this is pretty good. This is a really strong Heartbreaker thing. You could actually pick up 2 of these Heartbreaker chest pieces and re-roll the armor core for weapon damage, so you can have a Heartbreaker damage build set up for your chest piece, or just have one so you can keep the armor core and keep crit hit chance and re-roll to whatever you need, like crit hit damage potentially, and then you can have a strong tank Heartbreaker chest piece. So that's what I'd recommend, picking up 2 of these. Now, ongoing directive, you could re-roll, you can pick this up and re-roll it for a skill tier there for any status type of build, or crit hit chance, crit hit damage in the regular attribute, depending on what you're going for damage. Now, aces and 8s, I'm not a big fan of this because like it's based off of gambling, so it's not very consistent damage output, but it's good rolls if you want to pick it up and experiment with the gear set. This is not a bad chess piece already. Now moving on to, we went over the gear, now to the weapons. Converted SMG 9. This has maxed out core stats. It's always good to see. In the regular attribute, reload speed, I would not recommend that. And then, okay, unfortunately, it has the talent Sadist, so I would reroll damage targets out of cover in the regular attribute and use this in a bleed build. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it. And now for the double barrel shotgun, it has 10.9% shotgun. Okay, decently rolled stats. Again, damage to targets out of cover in the regular attribute is what I'd reroll, depending on the the talent again is Sadist, so you could pick up both these if you're going for a bleed build and damage targets out of cover. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend them. The Palisade Steelworks knee guards, all right. Core attribute has armor, regular attribute has armor regen and skill haste. So I'd recommend picking this up. This would be great for any type of tank build, and you could re-roll the skill haste for hazard protection, crit hit chance, crit hit damage. So yeah, would be good for a tank build. The M16A2, core attributes pretty good. A regular attribute, magazine size, and the talent is future perfect. So I would re-roll damage targets out of cover in the regular attribute, and you can use this in a skill build if you want a skill style type build. There are better than future perfect, like in sync for skill builds and stuff like that, but you could experiment and have fun. Now for the SIG 556, okay, core attributes are decent. The regular attribute is headshot damage, and the talent is flatline. So you can do damage targets out of cover, and if you don't have a Kingbreaker or even Dare or anything like that for like Heartbreaker or Pulse builds, you can use this as a, once again, a placeholder in your Heartbreaker styled build and keep the flatline. Again, if you have Kingbreaker, just use that. But if you don't, this would be a decent placeholder in the meantime. Group Sombra knee guards, very nice. Or yeah, weapon damage, but with explosive resistance health, I would not recommend these. You would want double crit. For in general, there might be some mid maxing for other builds. You might want a few other stats, but in general, these stats are all over the place, so I wouldn't recommend it. Aerolati Holdings, okay. This is a marksman rifle based build, so you could re-roll the skill damage on it for headshot damage and use it for a armor regen one-shot sniper build. Potentially, there are better combinations, but that could actually yield some pretty fun results. Now we went over the gear. Now moving on to the mods. 10.5% crit hit damage, 9% blind def resistance, 10.6% crit hit damage, and 6.8% cone size for your pulse. Any must-haves and recommendations? Pretty much the Heartbreaker and the Palisade Steelworks if you're going for a tank build, and Heartbreaker for any Heartbreak. You can pick up 2 of them, like I said. And then, again, Chainkiller if you don't have one. This is a great placeholder, or you can turn it into a god tier. You just have to really level up that weapon damage. So those are my recommendations. Now, moving on from the White House, we're going to go over to the theater and work clockwise around the map. Come on, theater, give us the goodies, all the good stuff. All right, we're at the theater. And oh, perfect. So last week we had the stage left for the Talent Perfect Sledgehammer, and I said if you have the lefty, I'd recommend using that over it. Unfortunately, though, I just noticed it has 5% damage to armor. That is very low, but it still has Perfect Sledgehammer. So if you don't have a lefty, you mainly use the lefty for that Talent Perfect Sledgehammer, which you can pause, take a look, and read at it. But it's great for increasing like a group or party's damage output to really nuke stuff. So that's what you mainly use it for. So having those low stats, if you don't have one, highly recommend picking this up. Do damage targets out of cover in the regular attribute still. And the other reason people use this is to build stacks for like Striker or Heartbreaker. So not doing a crazy amount of damage is okay. It's ideally, you know, mid-maxing, you want those best stats. So just use it until you get a better roll. But again, if you don't have it, it's better than nothing. Hello. KSG Shotgun. 10% magazine size and the regular attribute, and Breadbasket. Breadbasket's good for headshots and whatnot, and you're using a shotgun, so unless you want to aim for close quarters headshots and make things more difficult, I wouldn't really recommend it. But if you do, and you can make that work for you, then damage targets out of cover in the regular attribute. Oh, the Rifle 1886. This was actually also in my last build for my rifle one-shot build. Let's check out the stats. Okay, they're all right. They're all right in the core attributes. In the regular attribute headshot damage, you'd actually want damage targets out of cover, and then the talent in sync. Yeah, with in sync with this, I really wouldn't recommend this. What you'd want is damage targets out of cover and determine, so I'd just farm countdown for a better one. Petrov defense. So weapon damage in the core attribute, explosive resistance in the regular attribute, along with armor regen. I would just recommend farming the contractor gloves through countdown, or getting those, or just better Petrov defense stat gloves. This is kind of, yeah, with the low weapon damage especially, I wouldn't recommend picking these up. Now for the Group Sombra, again, Group Sombra. Oh, excellent. Okay, so these are what you want to see with any Group Sombra pieces. Weapon damage, crit hit damage, and then re-roll that skill damage for crit hit chance, and then boom, you have double crit Group Sombra knee guards, which make them like god tier. Great, amazing, perfectly rolled. Sorry, a little scatterbrained right now, but yeah, that's perfect roll. So highly recommend picking those up. Now moving on to the mods, we went over the weapons and gear. 8.5% ensnare resistance, 6.2% health for your Mender Mine or Seeker Mine. 4.2% shield health for your shield, 6.1% damage for your Firefly, and 5.5% duration. Any must-haves or recommendations? Lefty for the perfect sledgehammer if you don't have one. Otherwise, I would, and then replace it with one with better stats when you get it. And the group Sombra knee guards, just reroll skill damage for crit hit chance, and then boom, double crit. That's what I recommend at the theater vendor. Now let's move on to the Dark Zone East. So, big tip before we get to the Dark Zone East, don't try and remember to not teleport to the main entrance. Teleport to Zone East Alpha, and you might get double loading screen, but it will still be a lot faster getting to the vendor than going to the main entrance. Just trust me. So, okay, again, I did not last week and this week I did not get loaded in, but I normally do, which is strange when I visit here. But you'd be running from all the way over here, so it's just quicker even with that extra loading screen. Now at the Dark Zone East, we are starting things off with the Black Friday LMG. Now it comes with the talent Perfectly Unhinged. If you want to, if you can deal and handle with the lack of stability and accuracy for that extra damage, I would roll damage to armor on the regular attribute, and you could pick this up. Oh, and before I forget,
Thanks for the
which
trade.
I did forget before going into it, quick disclaimer I like to go over is if you hit start, go to inventory, scroll over to resources, and then hit R2 or whatever it tells you in the bottom right corner if you're using mouse and keyboard, and scroll down to the hazard symbol, and right there it will tell you your Dark Zone resources. This is the currency you have to use in order to buy anything from Dark Zone vendors, and you get this through breaking down loot in the Dark Zone. It will go in your contaminated bag, and then you have to extract the Dark Zone resources out in order to get them, or there are like chests scattered throughout the Dark Zone which will immediately give them to you. You don't have to extract them, and you just get them immediately. But that's essentially how you get Dark Zone resources. So you need those in order to get anything from the vendors. Dark Zone vendors, I mean, specifically. So yeah, if you want the Black Friday, it's a decent LMG. You could save your Dark Zone resources though for exclusives at the Dark Zone and whatnot, and just better weapons. But if you like this type of style with the more damage and everything, then you can make that work. Again, damage to armor and the regular attribute. Covert SRS has magazine size and the regular attribute for the rifle or marksman rifle, and Sadist. Again, with Sadist, I would just save your resources. This is just not a good roll, and if you're interested in this at all, just farm Countdown. Like most things that you can get from the Dark Zone vendor. I mainly get exclusives is what I save my resources for. Military L8, L86. It has crit hit chance, so damage to armor if the talent's good, and it comes with Unhinged. So if you want Unhinged, just go for the Black Friday. Don't worry about this. Moving on. The Hunter's Fury Mask. It comes with weapon damage and the core attribute and explosive resistance. So you can pick this up, do crit hit damage or crit hit chance or headshot damage. That's what I've mainly used for my Hunter Fury builds, but I would just farm the Countdown and save your resources once again. Now 9.9% weapon damage for Negotiator's Dilemma and repair skills. Because it's Negotiator's Dilemma, I would reroll for crit hit chance, crit hit damage, but again, save your resources. Yuzina Mask. Okay, so this is great for tanking. Again, I would re-roll the weapon handling for crit hit damage, and then you can get double crit armor with the thing, with the brand set of 5% extra armor on top of that, and then you can use this in a tank build, but save your resources and farm Countdown, and you can get it there. Richer and Kaiser holster, incoming repairs with repair skills, skill tier, and crit hit chance. I wouldn't really recommend this because the repair skills and incoming repairs affect different stats entirely. They don't stack with one another, so I would just farm for a better one. Now moving on to the mods, we went over the weapons and now gear at the Dark Zone vendor East. Now the mods: 10.3% skill haste, 4.2% damage for your chem launcher, plus 4 stim charges for your hive, 6.3% cone size for your pulse, and 6% shock radius for your trap. That's it for the Dark Zone East. Any must-haves or recommendations? Not really, unless you saw something you really like. But otherwise, yeah, I don't nothing there. Now we're going to the castle. I haven't spent any time leveling my castle, so it's just all default and everything, but we're gonna run to the castle vendor and take a look and see what they got. Hopefully they have some good stuff for us.
Hostile control point nearby.
And it's raining while the sun's out. Perfect. It's actually quite fun when that happens in IRL, but also always blows my mind. Anyway, now we are at the castle vendor. All right, and what we have, this is actually good. The Punch Drunk Douglas and Harding named mask. This is the exact mask you want to use on any one-shot pistol build or any pistol build you might want to use in general for the extra, the brand set bonus, as well as it gives you this plus 20% headshot damage. So again, that's why it's great for one-shot builds. Yeah, I would just highly recommend picking this one up, and you can reroll whatever you need to. Like the crit hit damage could be crit hit chance if you need more crit hit chance, but yeah. Definitely recommend picking this up. The classic MM4 carbine. It has damage to armor, the regular attribute, not bad, that could be good, and then close and personal. So what you'd want for this, again, you could use this in a one-shot build. I would put determined in the regular talent and keep the damage to armor, since that is the best secondary you can have, so it does more damage to armor. And this would be a good placeholder if you don't have like the White Death, which is the named variant of this. So yeah, classic M60 or M60, crit hit damage in the regular attribute and steady handed. So you can re-roll that to damage to armor. There are better versions actually of this out there, like you could farm because that damage targets out of cover is so low. But if you wanted it and use it as a beam, and you can try and max out damage target out of cover, damage to armor on the regular attribute, or what you're farming for, that's what I'd look for. But there are also better talents, so unless you enjoy the accuracy and stability and turning into a beam. Up to you. Now moving on, another group Sombra piece, and boom, alright. The crit chance is lower than what I would like, but the maxed out weapon damage is definitely welcomed. I would pick this up and replace the weapon handling for crit damage, and then you have another double crit, really good group Sombra item, or yeah, piece. So there you go. The FK 910 China Lighthouse Industries, so explosive resistance, skill tier with skill damage and headshot. You could replace the headshot for skill haste and use this in a skill build, but with the explosive damage, just make sure you're using like explosive based skills, and that would be decent. Now we've gone over the weapons and gear. Now for the mods, 6.2% repair skills, 13.6% snare health for your chem launcher, plus 4 stinger charges for your hive, plus 5% skill haste for your pulse, and 4.2% duration for your trap. Not 14, but 4.2. All right, any must-haves and recommendations? Definitely the Punch Drunk mask and the group Sombra mask. And again, if you don't have the White Death, this would be a decent alternative with Determined rolled onto it for a one-shot sniper build. That's it at the castle vendor. Now let's move on to the Dark Zone South. Come on, Dark Zone South. Give us more goodies. It is reset day. Alright. Now, looking at stuff at the Dark Zone South.
Good to see you, Agent.
Now we have the Door Kicker group Sombra named chest piece. So, let's take a look. Sorry. 10% weapon damage, crit hit chance. All right, this would be really good to pick up if you don't have it already at the Dark Zone vendor. Just add it to your collections. I believe this is a Dark Zone exclusive. If not, then I will say so in post. But if you don't see like a message popping up, then it is a Dark Zone exclusive. Now with Perfect Spark, this would work really well with a skill build damage group Sombra hybrid. Like you could get a lot of damage and use this in a skill build as well. And I would just re-roll the headshot damage for crit hit damage, and then boom, you would have a perfect rolled door kicker. Now the M1928 SMG, it has headshot damage in the regular attribute and close and personal. It's decent. You could do damage targets out of cover, but again, I would save my resources for Dark Zone exclusives or named items that you might really need or / want. So moving on, The custom P416, it has damage targets out of cover, but the main core attributes are really low, so I don't know. And it comes with Sadist. Yeah, I would just farm Countdown, just because the main attributes are just so low, and with Sadist. You could re-roll that for whatever you want, but yeah. X4 E5 Tactical, it has Crit Chance and Eyeless. I wouldn't really recommend this just because you'd want to re-roll both the Crit Chance and Talent, so not good. Negotiator's Dilemma Backpack, 8.3% weapon damage and 8.6% explosive resistance. Yeah, I would just farm Countdown and get one with Crit Chance or damage. The Umbra Initiative with 10.6 weapon damage and 4.4 crit hit chance. This is not bad, but again, just farm Countdown. Oh, I did. Wow. Okay, this has Y'all gear. So Y'all brand set bonus, or the brand gear set, is exclusive to the Dark Zone. You can only get this in the Dark Zone, or if you farm control points, I believe, you can get the blueprint to craft them, but you can only craft them if you have the materials, which you have to break down the items for. So if you have a lot of resources, you could pick up a couple of these, break down for resources. It's not ideal, but I would actually highly recommend just picking up this backpack and save it for a full Y'all gear set. And then with Bloodsucker, you would want Adrenaline Rush is what I like to use, or Bloodsucker, perfectly good rolls for the talent. And then I would re-roll the explosive resistance for crit hit chance, crit hit damage, or hazard protection for a tank style build. But yeah, definitely recommend picking up at least one of these. The Palisade Steelworks, not bad, but I would recommend just getting Countdown just because of the talent and status effects. You wouldn't want either of those if you're going for a tank style build, which is what I like to use these for with armor and kill and whatnot. Now, we went over the weapons and gear. Now for the mods at Dark Zone South, 10.2% crit hit damage, 6.3% deflect duration for your drone, 4.2% damage for your sentry, and 6.5% damage for your improved sticky. Now, any must-haves and recommendations, definitely the Y'all gear backpack, definitely pick that up. And again, re-roll the explosive resistance for crit hit damage, chance, or hazard protection. And then the door kicker, that would also be one that I'd recommend picking up. Everything else,
I appreciate the
up to you if you saw anything that you liked. Now let's move on to the Dark Zone West, and then we'll finish up in Washington at the campus, and then head to New York. So, Dark Zone West, please give us more goodies. The South was not too bad at all. I really enjoyed seeing the Y'all gear backpack, especially there. Now for Dark Zone West. The Firm Handshake. I wouldn't really recommend picking this up with the status effects. Just save your resources and farm a Sokolov Concern or the Firm Handshake at Countdown. Yeah, I would just do that. If you do pick them up, though, crit hit damage over the status effects if you can. I think that's the exclusive to the weapon. Not entirely. Anyway, moving on. M870 Express Shotgun, stability in the regular attribute, and Breadbasket, same as the last one we saw with Breadbasket. If you want to be aiming with head with a shotgun, you could do damage targets out of cover. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it. So the Mod 2 Rifle, alright. Swap speed in the regular attribute, and Ranger. You could do damage targets out of cover, and with Ranger, get some results, but there are definitely better options out there, and it's at the Dark Zone side. Just save your resources. The Eclipse Protocol gear set, this isn't bad. I would just re-roll the status effects attribute over the explosive resistance. Hot shot, weapon damage, and again, farm Countdown for both these, but I would do headshot damage over the repair skills. Now the Sokolov Concern, okay, so non-named version of the Firm Handshake. It doesn't have crit neither or, and I'd highly recommend when you're getting these for like any SMG build to get crit hit chance and crit damage, so wouldn't recommend them. Badger Tough knee pads. The stats are kind of all over the place for any type of build really for these, so I just wouldn't recommend them. Shock resistant. Okay, so now we've gone over the gear and weapon at the Dark Zone West. Now over the mods. 8.5% shock resistance, 4.1% radius for your Seeker Mine, 4.3% deflector damage for your shield, 5.9% skill haste for your Firefly, and 6% duration for your decoy. Any must-haves and recommendations? Nope, not really. None at the Dark Zone West this week. That's alright. Now to the campus, and then we'll be heading to New York after we finish up. Hopefully the campus has some more goodies for us. Running, running, running. I'd like to be sprinting. There we go. Now I can sprint. Alright, campus vendor. Let's see what you got. Let's see some good things. Come on.
Check out what I've got.
Okay, so starting off with the Carnage LMG. Named LMG. This has perfect status, so again, it wouldn't be bad for a bleed build, so damage to armor if you want to pick this up and use it in a style bleed build. Now, the Paratrooper SVD Marksman Rifle, it has damage to armor and Sledgehammer, so if you want to pick this up and use it in Determined over the Sledgehammer, because again, go get the Lefty at the theater if you want perfect Sledgehammer. That wouldn't be bad. Just again, use Determine and you can use it as a placeholder one-shot build. Military L86 LSW, headshot damage and stabilize. So again, this can turn it into like a beam style weapon. Just get damage to armor in the regular attribute. 5.11 tactical. Yeah, the stats are kind of all over with this, so I just wouldn't really recommend it. And I'm not a big fan of the brand set bonus of just having health, so that's moving on to the Electric holster, skill tier, armor regen. I guess you could reroll the explosive resistance for status effects and have this for a tank status effects style build. That would be all right. Now moving on to the mods, we went over the weapons and gear. 8.2% skill duration, 4.1% duration for your chem launcher. Plus 4 stinger charges for your hive, 14.7 health for your pulse, and 4.2 duration for your trap. All right, any must-haves and recommendations at the campus vendor? Not really. Nothing so far. Now let's finish up and go to New York. Haven. Okay. To Haven. Boom. Right. Thank you, loading screen. Yep. And done. Thank you.
Safe area detected.
Now to our first vendor, I believe, Marco. Yeah, there we are, Marco. Hey. Okay, so the MK16 with reload speed and overflowing. Not a big fan of overflowing, so I really wouldn't recommend it with the reload speed. Military RPK 74M. It has fast hands and health damage, so if you wanted to reload your magazine quickly, you could just reroll damage to armor on there, and then boom, that wouldn't be bad. Double barrel shotgun, fast hands once again, damage. I really wouldn't recommend it. You could do damage targets out of cover, but how short the 5.3% shotgun damage is, I really wouldn't recommend it. The Card 45 pistol. Okay, so headshot damage and in sync. So this actually wouldn't be bad. I use the Card Custom, which is a Dark Zone exclusive that gives you extra skill tier. But if you want to pick this up for any type of like skill build, in sync is crazy for skill builds. So I would just re-roll this with damage targets out of cover, and then boom, you have a good pistol for any type of skill build. The Seska chest. All right, let's see what this has. No, I really wouldn't recommend this Seska chest piece just because the stats are all over the place with skill haste, hazard protection, and that talent. I'm not a big fan of that because with protected reload, just stay behind cover while you're reloading or get into cover, then reload, and then boom, it's better than just protected reload. And then the other stats are all over the place. Now moving on. Sokolov Concern knee guards. Okay, again, you want crit hit chance and crit damage in general for SMG or Sokolov Concern, so wouldn't really recommend these. Seska Mask, let's see. Okay, another perfect. All right. So with the weapon damage in the core attribute and crit hit damage in the regular, you just reroll the armor regen for crit hit chance, and then boom, you got insane double crit Seska Mask. Recommend picking that up. Ooh, this is crazy. All right. Highly recommend picking up 11% protection from elites. I would, if you don't have any, recommend honestly picking up 6 of these, just because there are some builds out there, or you can put together where you can have 6 mod slots on gear, and all of them fill with like protection from elites, and you're that survivable and tanky. It's just crazy. Or if you already have like 2 or 3, minimum, I would say definitely pick up 3. But if you want to be prepared, pick up 6. If you already have like 2 or 3, then pick up all the way up to 6 is what I recommend. Definitely recommend getting these. 8.6% skill duration, 5% skill haste for your Seeker Mine, 5.8% damage for your Firefly, and 4.3% duration for your Trap. Any must-haves or recommendations? Definitely the Seska Mask with the reroll the armor regen for crit hit chance, and the protection from elites. Definitely pick these up if you don't have them, as all the way up to 6 if you don't have any. Thank you, Marco. That was great. Now let's move on to the last vendor. But before we do that, I think everyone knows the drill. We always have to pet the cute little puppers. In any video game we come across the cute little puppers. Look at you. Yeah, let's give you the pets. You deserve all the pets in the world. Look at you. You got a little bowl right there. You got to make sure you get fed, though. Come on, guys. Feed the puppers over here. I'm definitely going to have to pet my puppy again right after this video. Give him some love. All right. Now, Roy, let's check out my last vendor, the converted SMG9, 19% optimal range, and Outsider. You could turn this into a beam if you do damage targets out of cover, but other than that, I really wouldn't recommend it. The military RPK-74M, again, we just saw that at Marco, I believe. It has crit hit chance and flatline. So again, just like I believe at the clan vendor, there was a weapon there that had flatline, but if you don't have Kingbreaker, just highly recommend always use Kingbreaker if you have it. But if you don't, you can farm Countdown and get a Kingbreaker. But in the meantime, just pick this up. You can reroll the crit hit chance for damage targets out of cover. And then boom, you have a decent placeholder until you get a Kingbreaker. Police MK17. This is a rifle with damage to armor and reformation. So this actually wouldn't be bad to pick up for a sniping healer hybrid build. It wouldn't be bad for that. Or you could reroll, keep the damage, like you could reroll damage to armor for the healing part and for damage targets out of cover, or keep damage to armor because that's still a great attribute to have, and then reroll the reformation for something like determined or something like that if you want to use it for like a one-shot build. But either or. The Desuros, it has Lucky Shot and Headshot damage. I'm not a big fan of Lucky Shot, and with Headshot, I just really wouldn't recommend it. There are better pistols out there. And then the Alp Summit, this is always great for healing with the repair seals, but with the crit hit chance and health, and Creeping Death talent, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this just because I like to use it in general to make a healing build out of it work. You could do hybrids, but the stats are all over the place really for hybrids in my opinion. So moving on, Solkov Concern. Oh, there we go, much better. So forget the Dark Zone West Solkov Concern. Like I said, I would just save your resources, but if you want a Solkov Concern gloves for any SMG build, definitely recommend coming to here and picking them up. Just reroll the headshot damage for crit hit chance and you're good. Now the Wyvern Wear Mask. You could reroll the health on these for skill damage or skill haste and have a skill status effects damage build if you wanted. Otherwise, yeah, I would farm for something else where you could have skill haste and skill damage, or vice versa. Skill haste and status effects. You could also do that. 15.8%. So we went over the gear set and weapons. Now to the mods. 15.8% repair skills. 4.4% crit hit chance. +1 extra sniper ammo for your sentry turret, 6% skill haste for your chem launcher, and 4.2% duration for your trap.
Thanks.
That's it for everything at the vendors this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Everyone, please take care, be safe, and have a wonderful rest of your day/night. Bye.